Welcome back to the Big Leagues podcast. David and Isaac back here with a NFL draft reaction video. Uh, had a pretty crazy draft, like lots of interesting picks, couple deals. Jump right off, I guess, right at the start. We got Caleb Williams going 1 to Chicago. Seemed like a no-brainer pick. I mean, he's been hyped up as a generational talent for a while now. Like, seems like the Bears have been desperate for a QB of that level, so it seems like a no-brainer. What are your thoughts on that pick?
I mean, we've known this for at least 3 months. Where since Fields got traded, we know that he's a Bear. Nothing really surprising. The only thing I gotta say is, when there's a consensus number one pick, don't make them take 10 minutes on the clock. Just get the pick done already. Like we already knew that was happening. So
Yeah.
Great fit for the Bears. Nothing really else to say. We've already kind of talked about it in our mock drafts.
Yeah.
Just pretty
I
simple.
know they also had a pick at 9, so maybe we'll do a little more Bears talk then. And then at 2, Jaden Daniels, another seemed like a chalk pick, and then Drake May at 3.
Yeah.
Kind of like a toss up between those two guys. I think I would have picked Daniels. What do you think about that decision between Daniels and May?
I mean, I probably prefer May. I think he's kind of more, your kind of Herbert-esque passer, big guy, can stay in the pocket, can really sling the rock. But I mean, a lot of, it's kind of the newer quarterback, Daniels, mobile, can kind of make some absurd throws, make some plays with his legs. So, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I'd probably lean May, but it's close for me, but nothing really too crazy there. We kind of expected that that was going to be the way it kind of shook out.
Yeah, I think for me, I think Daniels is more like, I think like the best version of Daniels might be better than the best version of May, but I feel like May might be a little safer just because Daniels kind of older and takes some big hits, so he could have some injury concerns. But his just like explosiveness could be dynamic, and he can sling the ball too, so could be a stud there. I think Drake May probably going to sit for the first year potentially, unless he's ready to go. Because I know they brought in Brissett to maybe play this year and then let May kind of take a year. Because it seems like that's kind of the way teams are looking to go now, is not to rush QBs in right off the bat and kind of take the Mahomes route or the Rodgers route where you let them sit for a year or two.
Yeah. And I mean, like, kind of no point of rushing May in there anyways. New England's going to be terrible with or without him. And, it's their O-lines, not great, and their weapons are pretty abysmal. So no point of, losing his confidence, having like a terrible year when you can let Brissett play like 10, 12 games. Then maybe you let May come in for like the last few games of the year. I think would be pretty sensible.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense to me. Then we had Marvin Harrison Jr. at 4 to the Cardinals, another chalk pick.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a no-brainer pick to me. They have Kyler Murray. They don't need a QB. You could try to get cute and trade down and do this and do that, but to me, I think like you got Kyler Murray. Why not bring in Marvin Harrison Jr.? He's one of the most highly touted wide receiver prospects in in the last however many years. So like, I just think you bring that in. Now you got a bona fide weapon potentially. I mean, we'll see what his ceiling is. I'm big on him. I think he could be definitely a top 10 receiver in the league. So anytime you got a guy of that stature, I think you bring him in. You agree?
And after losing D Hop too and Hollywood Brown, you got to give Kyler something. Like I know the Cardinals have a bunch of holes, but when you got a chance to get a guy that might go second overall, like in a different draft where there's not so many quarterback needy teams at the top, I think you got to take him. Like he's a slam dunk. Everybody's known about him for multiple years now. I think just a great pick for the Cardinals. He's gonna be a great player.
Yeah, I agree. And then this to me was the first like surprise pick.
Kind of shake up here.
Yeah, Chargers took Joe Alt at 5. A lot of people thought that maybe they could be a potential like trade destination for someone looking to trade up. They kept their pick. They have like no receivers really, so a lot of people thought maybe receiver. But I had heard rumblings coming into the draft that don't be surprised if the Chargers do take a tackle, just because it is a bit of a need, and Harbaugh likes his run game, so that could be a play. I had heard maybe J.C. Latham, but they didn't end up taking the kind of consensus top tackle in Joe Alt. How much of a surprise was that to you?
It was honestly pretty shocking to me. I mean, when it announced that they were keeping their pick, they weren't trading it. It was either Neighbors, maybe Odunze if they were, I don't know, but it was either receiver or tackle. But I really thought they're gonna go Neighbors. I mean, kind of similar to the Cardinals, they got a lot of holes, but when you can get a kind of a superstar receiver prospect, and you have no good receivers, and you got like a stud quarterback. I think you gotta help him out. But I mean, Jim Harbaugh just wants to run the rock, I guess, and so I guess they get a tackle, and it'll help Herbert having some good protection as well. So it's a good pick, but probably not the one I would have made personally.
Yeah, it is an interesting one for sure. I mean, I wasn't like jaw on the ground, but it definitely I was like, whoa, like it was
Yeah,
a bit of a surprise. And but I do just think, I mean, they did draft Quentin Johnson last year in the first round. I mean, he didn't really show too much promise, but who knows if they can get some untapped potential out of him. And I think Josh Palmer is like a competent receiver, so
he's like a solid wide receiver 3. You know,
yeah.
he
And
can be that, but
there are some kind of guys like potentially that could be on the move still. Like maybe they make a deal for a T. Higgins or a
yeah,
Brandon Ayuk or one of those guys. So I'd I'd be surprised, but who knows? Like
yeah.
that could be their plan. And then yeah, speaking of Malik Neighbors, he goes off the board at 6 to the Giants. I mean, they have no weapons either, so I think that's a pretty good pick. You agree?
I mean, for me, it was kind of rumored that they were thinking about McCarthy, you know, moving off from Daniel Jones, but you paid him that contract. He's got 40 million guaranteed this year. I think give him some weapons, give him maybe one last chance to, you know, see if maybe he can be your franchise quarterback. If not, you know, take a quarterback next year. Like I
Mhm.
think, you know, you can get a superstar, potentially superstar receiver, give Danny Dimes, you know, a real chance at it because he hasn't had much receiving help, you know, in his tenure with the Giants. So I think it's the right pick for the Giants personally.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with everything you said there. I guess one thing I forgot to mention with the Chargers is that Schefter said that some teams made calls on Herbert to see if maybe
Yeah.
if Harbaugh wanted his guy and JJ McCarthy and would be willing to trade Herbert, which would be crazy, but it ended up being a hell no, like
No,
not even
obviously.
entertaining it, which
Obviously.
that's the right choice. I mean, who knows what JJ McCarthy could be, but Justin Herbert's already like a top 7 pretty much guaranteed guy. So when you already have that, there's no point to roll the dice. I mean, it would be pretty stupid to move off him.
Yeah. I
Just
mean,
crazy though.
yeah.
Imagine if they did make that move.
Well, I saw like a mock where it's him to the Vikings, and they weren't even giving up Jefferson. It's like, just imagine you
Yeah.
plot Herbert on the Vikings right now, like Super Bowl contender right there. But Chargers were never trading Herbert. Like I never entertained it for a second.
No,
But
definitely fun to imagine though.
yeah,
We got pick 7. The Titans took J.C. Latham. I don't have really too much to say on that. They needed a tackle. Latham
yeah,
was potentially the best tackle on the board. I think that's a good fit there.
yeah. I mean, kind of everybody had Joe Alt going to them, but he was gone, so kind of everybody knew they were taking a tackle. Like not really surprised there.
Exactly. Unlike the next pick, that was a bit of a
Yeah,
surprise. Michael Penix Jr. goes at 8 to the Falcons. Um, I've I've made it clear that I'm a big Michael Penix guy. I think I'm not mad at like taking Michael Penix at 8. I think he can definitely be a top 10 overall pick, like talent. But the Falcons just signed Kirk Cousins to a
yeah.
4-year deal, and now they draft a QB at pick 8. Like that's to me, that's just too big of a resource to be wasting on a QB when you have holes. I mean, they're right now they're the favorite to win the division. I mean, like you win your division, you're in the playoffs. Like who knows? I think you got to build your best roster. I mean, I don't know, just a head scratcher to me. What do you think?
I mean, I think it was a terrible pick for the Falcons. I mean, I like Penix as well, but they have a lot of needs on defense. They could have maybe bolstered up the O line a little bit more. Maybe taken a receiver. Like, there's a lot of stuff they could have done with that pick. And you know, Penix he's what is he 20? He's an older kind of guy
Yeah,
coming into the draft. He's had a lot of injury history too. Like they kind of showed the graphic, 2 torn ACLs. Both his shoulders were messed up pretty badly. Um, it doesn't make sense to me because you paid Kirk Cousins all this guaranteed money, so it's not like you can cut him after the first year, second
mhm,
year of the deal. He still got a ton of money coming in. Um, it was kind of just baffling to me. Like we saw there was rumors coming out a day or two before the
mhm.
draft. They were thinking about it, but I just didn't really believe it. They must really believe in him to sign Kirk, and like they could have moved down and maybe got him too as well.
Mm,
The kind of baffling pick for me.
mm.
Yeah, just a
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah,
like I saw those rumors too, but the Falcons had interest in Penix, and I was like, okay, like maybe, but like pick 8, I don't know about all that. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, probably not. And they did end up taking him. I was pretty surprised. I mean, Did you see like the footage of the GM and the owner like talking? He's trying to sell
Yeah.
him on it. The owner probably stormed into the draft and was like, "What is going on?"
Yeah.
He had to try to explain himself. But I mean, it could work out in the long run. I mean, we were just talking about kind of following that Mahomes and that Rodgers formula. So maybe they, sit Penix behind Kirk for a year or two, and then move off of Kirk somehow and bring him in as the starter. And who knows, he could be a top 10 QB in the league. So
Yeah.
I don't want to say it was an awful pick necessarily, but I just don't think the fit and the need really it makes sense to me.
And also, like, the fact that they didn't discuss it, like, it came out Kirk Cousins had no idea, and his agent was kind of fuming about it. Like, I just, if you sign Kirk Cousins, you think you're kind of trying to win now, but
Mhm.
like they do have a young core, and bringing in a young quarterback, in 2 3 years, the core is still going to be there. Like Drake London, Bijan, Pitts, like they're not going anywhere anytime soon. But just I would have just loved to. I mean, I would actually. I'm glad they made this pick as a Panthers fan, but they should have taken an edge, or like there's just so many things they could have done to make their team better to win now. But maybe they don't believe they can win a Super Bowl with Kirk, so they felt they had to get a young guy.
Yeah, who knows? We'll see how in a few years' time how that ends up playing out. Bears back on the clock at 9. They end up taking Rome Odunze. I think it was another. I was kind of interested by that pick. Like coming into the draft, it was kind of a big three of Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze. They were all seen as like top tier receiver prospects. So to get a guy like that at pick 9, like seems like good value. But the Bears, they just traded for DJ Moore last season, and they just traded for Keenan Allen here at the end of this season. So to me, it kind of seems like you already got good weapons. Maybe you could have invested this pick somewhere else, but I guess Keenan Allen's getting up there in age. I think he only has 1 year left on his deal, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So maybe they want to pair Rome up with Caleb for the future and plan to move off of one of those guys later. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I don't know. I was a little surprised with that pick. How about you?
I was surprised as well. I mean, I love the talent, but if I'm the Bears, I'm probably going offensive line. I mean, you already have kind of like probably a top 5 receiver duo in the league with Keenan Allen, DJ Moore. You got Cole Kmet, good receiving tight end. You got DeAndre Swift, a decent receiving back. Like, was a pass catcher really the Bears' biggest need? For me, no. I mean, like you said, Keenan Allen is getting older, so I can see it from that perspective. Maybe Keenan's kind of a rental for this year, but I probably would have invested in the offensive line for Caleb because the Bears haven't had a great offensive line the past few years for Fields. So it was kind of a shocking pick. A lot of people were kind of happy they made the pick. A lot of people didn't, know what to think. But I think it's a good pick because you're getting a great talent. But I think maybe other needs for the Bears.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think the Bears could do this season if Caleb is I don't know, if he's like a pretty good QB? Do
Like
you think
I'm
they can
saying,
make the
like
playoffs? Like, do you think they could potentially contend for the division? I don't know.
I'd
Like,
probably say like their ceiling's 9 wins and their floor is probably like 5 wins. I think they're a 5 to 9 win team, probably for
yeah,
me, because I believe in Caleb Williams and he's got now with Odunze, he's got maybe the best, like honestly, like one of the best receiving cores in the league.
yeah, it'd be up there for sure. I mean,
Um,
we'll see like how Rome is and how Caleb is, but I do definitely think like if you told me right now, hey, they're gonna be an 8-win team, like that wouldn't surprise me one bit.
yeah.
I don't know.
They're
Like winning the division might be a little rich. Also saw I think they're minus 125 to make the playoffs, which to me that seems a little
crazy.
rich in my
That
opinion.
that's
I don't know.
ridiculous
Maybe I misread that, but um,
because their
yeah,
defense is not a great unit. Like it's like I don't even know. I believe they made a one or two. I know they lost Eddie Jackson, but he's kind of washed up. But I believe I couldn't even tell you who, but I think they made a few signings, but nothing crazy on their defense. Obviously, we still got, 2 more days of drafting to be done. But
mhm,
like, I think at best their defense is going to be a mid defense, kind of like 16, like 16 if they're lucky, to be honest. Like I know they got Jalen Johnson, Montez Sweat, a few guys, but I don't see them being a team that's going to make noise. Like let's say they just get into a wild card, I think that's about as far as they could possibly go.
yeah, I agree with that. Uh, and then moving on next, we had our first trade of the draft. The I was kind of confused by this at
Yeah,
first because the Vikings traded pick 11 and 157 to the Jets for 10 and 203. And I'm thinking like, okay, this is the Vikings move up to get McCarthy, but like the Jets aren't gonna take McCarthy. They have Rodgers, but what I think obviously it must have happened is that another team was potentially going to
Yeah,
leapfrog them. So they wanted to make sure that they got their guy and they didn't want Denver or any of those other potential teams to jump them. So
yeah,
they made sure to get their guy. I don't think that's too I mean, I think the Jets definitely got a favorable haul there, but if you're the Vikings, you've accumulated some picks. You got a guy that you want to go out and get, especially at the quarterback position. I think you just do what it takes if you believe in him. You agree with that?
yeah. I mean, it was kind of shocking to me that they moved up one pick.
Yeah.
They gave what a fourth and then a fifth, and got back a sixth to move up. I think it was.
Uh, Basically, I was like 129 and 157, and they got up 203.
Yeah, I mean, and like the Broncos must have had an offer, or the Raid. Like I imagine like kind of the Jets told him, we might move this pick around,
Yeah,
and
I
they're like,
think I
okay,
think
all right, Jets, we'll get the deal done, just give us McCarthy. So I mean, no point of taking the risk, because let's say one of them teams jump you, you're shit out of luck. Like if you're
yeah,
not a Bo
and
Nix guy, so
and the Vikings like they desperately need a QB. I don't
yeah.
want to. I mean, we'll see. I mean, do you McCarthy starts week one?
No, I think
No.
give Darnold week one. Like come on,
Former Panthers legend
throw
Sam Darnold.
Darnold the ball. I don't know. Like if McCarthy comes out and plays like really good in training camp and preseason, maybe give him the. But I'd give
He,
Darnold a few weeks. Like he's got some. Like he didn't even look bad in his last year with Carolina. He backed up in San Francisco last year. But I mean, I'm not a McCarthy believer, so maybe I have a little biased here. But I'd
yeah,
probably
and
start the veteran.
he's young too. I think he's only 20, so we'll see what they do there. I think the Jets were bluffing. I don't think anyone was moving up.
No, no, hell no.
That's a good piece of business by the Jets, in my
Yeah,
opinion. Um, and then yeah, so the Jets at 11, they take offensive tackle Olu Fashanu. I was I thought they might take a tackle here, or maybe like a weapon potentially. I
yeah,
know Brock Bowers was rumored. To me, I don't hate the pick because they do need protection for Rodgers, but they brought in Morgan Moses, tackle from Baltimore, and they brought in Tyron Smith, tackle from Dallas. So like you got Rodgers, you got a good defense, you got some weapons. I think you're trying to go all in to win. I think to me, I would have made more of a higher ceiling play because like best case scenario, Fashanu probably never even touches the field. Um, I
really. You
do
don't
understand though
you don't
Tyron
think
Smith
so?
has had some serious injury concerns, so kind of some insurance, I guess. But I don't know. I personally, I might have went for a bigger swing.
I mean,
What are your thoughts?
well, I was watching the draft. I was watching with Devin and Colin, who are Jets fans, and they both wanted Bowers pretty badly. But I mean, I would have taken Bowers long as I'm the Jets, because Aaron Rodgers has what two more years in him probably, and then he's probably retiring. But I mean, you brought in the two veterans to beef up your offensive line. I think your weapons. I feel like you could use another weapon. I feel Mike Williams and Garrett Wilson and Lazard and Conklin, like, it's all right, but I think Bowers would have helped you out a lot. But to be fair, both their tackles are very old, and I'm pretty sure the guy they got can also play guard as well. So
Okay.
I think he's versatile. I think he'll play a little bit this year, like probably not start week one, but I think it's a long-term investment from
Mhm.
the
Yeah,
Jets. So
definitely.
I don't hate it, but the fact that they have a 39-year-old quarterback, I probably would have leaned the win now pick probably for me.
Yeah, I agree. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. That would be interesting actually if you can play guard. I haven't heard that, but if that is the case, that would definitely make it a better pick as if you can kind of fill a gap there. Um, then this was another pick. This to me, I would probably slate this as the worst pick of the draft in my opinion. The Broncos at 12 take Bo Nix. Um, I did a little mock draft there a couple days before the draft. I had them trading back to 22 and taking Nix. And our Broncos fan was texting me and he was saying like, "Hell no, we ain't taking Bo Nix at 22. Like, get that out of here." And they take him at 12. Wow, I was shocked. Um, I don't know. Bo Nix, could he be good? I suppose, but I would not have took him anywhere near 12. Uh, I would have took him in like the second round, to be honest. So taking him at 12 to me was a big reach.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I mean, well, for example, Will Levis last year, was projected. I mean, for a second, people were saying he was going to the Panthers at 1, but ended up going to the second round. I think Bo Nix is a second round guy. I don't believe.
Yeah, give me Will Levis over Bo Nix.
Yeah,
Honestly,
that's what I was kind
easily.
of. I don't believe in Bo Nix, the talent, but I mean, to be honest, like, let's say the Broncos don't pick him, chance the Raiders take him with the next pick. To be honest, I mean, they got Minshew and O'Connell, but I still think they definitely need a. I don't think either of them are the option at quarterback long term. I don't know. Broncos are in shambles. Like, have fun in the basement for the next 5 years, Diz.
Yeah, and like they got so many holes too, and they just draft like a shitty QB at 12. I don't know. Like I'm wondering why didn't they trade back? Like,
They
I mean, you think maybe the Raiders take them? I agree to disagree on that one, but
yeah,
I don't know. To me, I know like the Eagles were desperately trying to trade up. Why wouldn't you kind of move back, recover some of those assets? Like you don't have a second round pick because you traded for Sean Payton and you stunk. So like I don't know. I think you got to do some better business there.
I would have rathered Brock Bowers too, like, or I would have rathered
a defensive player, a corner, anything,
or a corner. Like they have so many needs. It's like, but you just traded for Zach Wilson too. Like, why? Why, if you're gonna take Bo Nix, would you trade for Zach Wilson?
Even I think Stidham would probably would have got the start over Wilson, but
definitely.
I don't know. That to me, that's just a baffling pick. And then another baffling pick to me, the Raiders taking Brock Bowers. I mean, this is nothing against Brock Bowers. He could be an exceptional player, but to me, it's just the fit is not there for the Raiders. They have no tackle. They have no real QB. They have like one decent corner. I mean, they just holes everywhere. And they drafted a tight end last year in the second round.
I was about to say that. Like, I was about to say, if I'm not mistaken, I believe they took Michael Mayer in the second round, and now you're gonna go tight end again. And like
Mayer by no means he's not like a stud, but he's decent. Like I would roll him out a few more years and see how it goes. I mean, he can block, he can make plays. I mean, man, I'll look stupid if Brock Bowers is the next Travis Kelce, but I think they should have went a different position to me.
It was a bad pick. Like they have needs in every single position. Like tight end was probably one of your more secure positions. I don't know what they're thinking. I think they should have went defense or maybe offensive line. Raiders and Broncos going to be sniffing the bottom of the AFC West for a while.
And the Raiders too, like they just always screw up in the draft. My dad's a Raiders fan, and it's just like every year they just screw up. Like I think it was what they took. Like I think it was Cleveland Farrell, like 3rd overall or something, and everyone was like, "What?" Like he wasn't on the board, and there's just like, "Oh, like he's a hardworking guy," and he ended up being a stinker. So I don't know. Like if the Raiders draft someone, good luck for them being any good, in my opinion. I guess we can move on to the Saints at 14. Take a tackle to Talise Fuaga. I think that's a good pick. They need a tackle. Seems like a decent prospect. Don't have too much to say on that. I think that's a good pick.
It's kind of their expected pick. They needed offensive line. They got offensive line. Saints are a well-run organization. Good pick by them in my books.
Yeah. And then we got the Colts at 15. They take edge rusher from UCLA, Laiatu Latu. First defensive player drafted at pick 15. That's pretty crazy.
That is wild.
I'm a big fan of this pick. I think Latu is good. The reason why he maybe went where he went is just he was like medically retired from football, but then he came back and showed some promise. So, I mean, it's kind of strange to be like medically retired, but if that is actually in the past, I think that's a great pick.
Yeah. I mean, for me, Dallas Turner was projected kind of top 8 pick for a while. I probably would have went him, but if you're getting him healthy, like his potential is crazy. I know a lot of people kind of saw him as a boom or bust guy. Like he could be great. He could, if he gets hurt, then could be in trouble. But I think it's a good pick for the Colts. I mean, I know they were also thinking about corner and kind of all the corner. They had every defensive player on the board to them, which is wild. At 15, probably weren't imagining that. But I think it was a good pick for them.
Yeah, I agree. And then Saints at 16 take defensive tackle Byron Murphy the second. I think that's a pretty good pick too. He's just a big body, 297 pounder to just sit on your interior D line and disrupt
people. Seahawks, right?
Oh, sorry. What? Yeah, I meant Seattle Seahawks. I don't know
Yeah.
what I said, but
Uh,
yeah, I think that's a good pick in my opinion. He's could be a good part of a D line over
yeah.
there, and they did need some D line, so good pick.
I mean, for me, I think they had potentially a few other needs because I know they were kind of mocked offensive line a lot, but they already have Leonard Williams. I know he's kind of an edge, but he plays inside, so I thought they might go Dallas Turner as well there. But they got the best interior defensive lineman, which I guess they felt was a bigger need. So um, in another year he's probably going a lot higher than this pick. So I think it's just, like all these defensive picks are good value at this point for these teams.
Yeah, I agree. And then Vikings actually make another deal. Made a deal with the Jaguars. They acquired the 17th pick, gave up 23, 167, and a third and a fourth next year. So to me, I think that's a pretty big package to me.
It
Three
is.
kind of complementary picks to move up a couple slots. But I guess again, the Vikings had a guy they liked. Uh, they took Dallas Turner. We've kind of mentioned him as potentially the top projected edge rusher. So if they had a high grade on him and they thought, this guy's like a top 10 talent and he's sitting there on the board now, like let's just go get him.
Yeah.
Great pick. I mean, I guess we'll kind of get to the Jaguars side of this when we get to them, but what do you think about that trade and that selection for the
I
Vikings?
mean, like if they're that high on them, then like a third and a fourth is a lot kind of to move up.
And another pick too.
Yeah. What they move up six picks
E-
or maybe
yeah,
five?
6 picks.
Yeah, 6 picks. Um, I mean, Will Anderson came out and said, they played together at Alabama. He said he thinks he could be better than him one day. Like so, and a lot of people had him as the top edge rusher, and you're getting him at what is it, pick 17? Like I think I don't know. I mean, they're giving up a lot of capital, so they gave up a fourth and a fifth to the Jets, and now another third and a four and another pick. So I mean, you're kind of giving up. You're not gonna have much depth, in drafting wise in the next 2 years. But if you believe in the guy, go get your guy. And I don't hate the trade. I like the pick. Trade's kind of iffy for me.
Yeah, I think that's valid. Uh, Bengals had 18, take a tackle, Marius Mims. I think that's pretty standard with what I've seen being mocked to them to take a tackle. I think Mims is a good player, so I think that's a good pick.
I mean, did they not sign another tackle this year though? I thought because they got Orlando Brown Jr. last year. I thought they got that big guy from the Patriots. Well,
Potentially. I don't
Trent
remember
Brown
exactly.
is his name
Oh,
Trent Brown something, I think. But I'm
maybe.
not
I
sure.
don't.
I swear they signed one. So I thought they might have taken Brian Thomas when I was because T Higgins might be on the way out. So I thought, and also Trey Hendrickson just requested a trade as well. So I thought they might have gone edge, corner, receiver, but it kind of shocked me that they went tackle because I did think they signed another guy. I could be mistaken, but
Yeah.
I mean, their
I
biggest
think maybe they're
flaw.
just kind of this was also a bit of a future move too. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
but
mean,
yeah, it is interesting because they also like the other best edge rusher, Trey Hendrickson requested the trade, and T. Higgins.
yeah,
I mean, we'll see what I guess they'll both be playing, I assume. I don't know. I guess the Hendrickson trade request was just now, so we'll see what happens there. But
yeah,
you hate to see that as a Bengals fan. I mean, you got Joe Burrow, you got Jamar Chase, and to have two of your best supporting pieces to that request trades is kind of tough.
yeah. I mean, but back to the pick, I guess the biggest problem for the Bengals has been protecting Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
So they're kind of finally just saying, we're going to get the job done for him. We're going to make sure that no one's hitting our quarterback, and we got Jamar Chase and T Higgins, so we'll figure it out. So not a bad pick by any means.
Yeah. I agree. Um, Rams taking edge rusher Jared Verse at 19. Don't have any issues with that pick. They could use some help on D line. I think he fits
Yeah,
that need, so good pick for them.
yeah. They lost Aaron Donald, so kind of gotta plug that hole somehow. So I like the pick there from the Rams. He was kind of another top rated edge rusher as well. So to get him at a premium selection is always good value.
Yeah. My Steelers at 20. I was watching the Pat McAfee stream for the draft, and they go to take a piss break at around pick like 18, 19, and they come back from their piss break, and the Steelers pick has already been, the Dolphins pick was already in, so I completely missed the pick. Just kind of disappointed about that, but they take offensive lineman from Washington, Troy Fatano. He grew up a Steelers fan. There's a pretty cool, like, the video of him getting drafted. He was pretty emotional. Uh, I've warmed up to the pick a little. It's not my favorite pick. I mean, we'll see if he's a stud. Then, like, obviously it's a good pick, but I don't know if that's necessarily the position I would have went. I mean, we still had Brian Thomas and A.D. Mitchell on the board, who are my two highest wide receivers on the board. That I would have been stoked with either one of them. Passed on them. I mean, we were also potentially looking at like a corner, and we had our pick of corners. So
Yeah.
we ended up going guard/tackle. It is a bit of a need. So overall, not too disappointed, and I think Troy could be a good player for us. So I like it.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm Pittsburgh, honestly, I would have went Brian Thomas or for me. But I mean, your offensive line has been letting you down for the past few years, and bringing in Arthur Smith, big time run game, and you already kind of been leaning on your run game the past few years, and I think it's a good investment, to give Najee and Jalen Warren a chance to be the most effective they can be. So, and from what I've seen, he's kind of got that dog mentality that will fit right in with kind of your culture. So maybe not the flashy pick, but potentially a good pick for the Steelers.
Yeah. And then yeah, the Dolphins next. Chop Robinson, edge rusher. I think that's a good pick. I mean, don't have
I
too
mean,
much to say.
I was kind of curious about that pick because they do have Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb, but I know they both did tear their ACLs. Um, I know they both did tear their ACL, so I'm not sure when they'll be available for this year. But I thought potentially corner because they lost Xavier Howard. Maybe take one of the because basically all the corner. There hasn't been a corner taken before their pick if I'm not mistaken. So I mean, good pick, like good player. I mean, and a lot of people believe in Chop Robinson as kind of potentially one of the highest ceilings, but I thought potentially a few other needs for the Dolphins.
Yeah, I agree. They definitely could have went a bunch of different ways, but maybe that's a guy they liked. So kind of you can never go wrong. We've seen like a lot of teams like the Eagles and the 49ers, they built their whole scheme around having a D line with multiple guys that can rotate in. So you can never have too many D linemen, and
Yeah,
I don't hate that pick. I don't like, yeah, could have went other ways, but I think that's a fine pick.
yeah,
Um, and then we had the Eagles at 22. They were rumored to be looking to trade up so they could go get a corner, and they stayed where they were, and they had whichever corner they liked, and they settled on Quinion Mitchell. Seemed to be kind of him and Terry Arnold seemed to be the top two corners on the board. I guess the Eagles are stoked with that one, and I do think they needed a corner. They got Slay and Bradbury, but they're both north of 30 years old, so I think that's a great pick for the Eagles.
I mean, Eagles don't have too many needs. Like D
Yeah,
line, you got the whole Georgia D line. Um, not a single position except maybe wide receiver three and center on offense that you could even upgrade at this pick.
hmm
So I think kind of their secondary let them down last year. Bradbury and Slayer are getting up there, like you said, and I think Quinyon Mitchell is the best corner in the draft. And I'm pretty sure in our mock draft I had him going like almost top 10.
15, I
So
think probably
yeah,
to Colts.
definitely up there. I think great pick by the Eagles. Exactly who I would have went with if I was picking.
Yeah, I mean the Eagles just always seem to win the draft, and
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll necessarily be like the top winner, but I definitely we'll see how the rest of it plays out. But definitely can't complain about that pick.
The fact
Uh,
that they got their guy and didn't
yeah,
even have to move up when they were talking about moving up kind of the whole week.
yeah. And then as we touched on, like the Jaguars traded back to 23, they took Brian Thomas Jr. To me, I think they probably would have took Brian Thomas Jr. at 17. That's where I had him mocked, and so they traded back, recovered those three extra picks we talked about, and then got the guy they probably wanted. I think that's a home run pick. You got Trevor Lawrence, surround him with a nice weapon, and you lost Calvin Ridley, so replace him with Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, like we had those. He's kind of not quite in that same tier as those big three receivers, but I mean, I still think like he could still be a stud in my opinion. 6'3", 209 pounds. I think like his 40-yard dash was a 4.33. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty impressive numbers. So, yeah. What do you
He
think?
was kind of everyone's fourth receiver on the board. I think receiver was a huge need for the Jags. Also, kind of thought they might go corner. Maybe Nate Wiggins was kind of a guy they liked apparently,
Hmm.
but I think it's the right pick. I mean, you lost Ridley, and your passing offense wasn't even that good last year. So I think you definitely. I mean, I know they brought in Gabe Davis, but I think you definitely need another weapon.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Um, and then the Lions traded up. They traded pick 29 and 73 for 24 and a seventh. So I think that's a pretty steep price. Move up five picks and give up number 73. I mean, I think that's steep. Good piece of business for the Cowboys. But the Lions, they were targeting a cornerback. They got Terry Arnold. He was a top consensus top two corner. So I think it's a good fit. I think it's a good player. Maybe they overpaid a bit, but if he ends up being a star, that's not going to be an issue.
Yeah, definitely one of the biggest needs from last year was corner. I mean, we've talked about the Carlton Davis move and how we both kind of like that move for them, but I still think they still need another corner, and they got a top two guy on my board at the position. So I think even though you had to give up an asset, move up to get your guy. I like that for the Lions. They don't have too many needs. They're a pretty kind of well-rounded team. Kind of give up a late round or give up a mid-round pick that maybe you don't need as much as other teams, and kind of get a position that you need.
Yeah. Green Bay Packers pick 25, offensive tackle Jordan Morgan. Uh, I mean, they lost Bakhtiari, not that he was even in the on the field anyways, but I mean, definitely could use some offensive linemen to help protect Love. I think solid pick in my opinion.
Yeah,
I
they
don't know
already.
if he was necessarily my highest rated tackle on the board, but what do I
No,
know?
he wasn't for me either. I had Tyler Guyton, who the Cowboys ended up getting. I guess we'll talk about him in a bit, but I mean, you got to protect Jordan Love. You're kind of investing. He's kind of your franchise guy now after his great year last year, and you already have three young receivers brought in Josh Jacobs. I think you lost Bakhtiari, like you said, but I think it's the right pick to address the offensive line.
Yeah. Uh, Another offensive line pickup for the Buccaneers at 26. Draft offensive lineman Graham Barton. I think he played tackle, but I think probably people are thinking he could be a center. So if he ends up being a center for the Bucks, they haven't really had a sufficient center since they lost Ryan Jensen. So solid pickup.
Yeah, just kind of filling a hole they needed. I think just a solid pick. Not too much to say about it.
Yeah. Cardinals, they got Marvin Harrison Jr. at 4, back on the board at 27. They take edge rusher Darius Robinson. I think, you took offense early in the draft, come back, take defense. I think that's good business, kind of spreading out your picks, spreading out
Yeah,
your players.
I mean, they lost Shaq Barrett to the Dolphins. I mean, no, even though last year he kind of was a shell of himself, but edge was a need, and they already took Marvin Harrison, like you said. So I think it's the right pick for the Cardinals. Good
Yeah,
play too.
yeah. And then we actually had a pretty interesting trade that caught me a little bit off guard. The Chiefs and the Bills
Yeah,
doing some business.
don't expect
Uh,
them to be trading much.
yeah, the Bills move back from 28 to 32. They pick up 95 and 221 and give away 133 and 248. So kind of move up about 40 slots and then 20 slots in two different picks. Move back a couple in the first round. Um, I mean, like just looking at the numbers, I guess it makes sense for the Bills because they have some holes, so fill some voids. But I mean, the Chiefs wanted a guy, and that's the team that always beats you in the playoffs. And you're like, oh, sure, here you go. Take the guy you really want. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something I'd be doing if I was them.
For me, I have it like this: Chiefs masterclass. I think I like. I
I guess I
think
should,
that,
sorry, I should specify that
yeah,
the Chiefs drafted wide receiver Xavier Worthy
Xavier Worthy. Yeah,
out of Texas. He broke the record for the fastest
yeah,
40-yard. I think it was like, what, 4.21?
yeah.
Yeah.
It
So,
was 4-2-1. Yeah, but I just think what an off season for the Kansas City Chiefs. I know they lost to Jarius Sneed, but See, last year they kind of rode their offense to win. Their first Super Bowl, they kind of rode their offense. I think they're going back to offense. Like you have a good offensive line. You got now your weapons are Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, Kelsey, Isaiah Pacheco. Like
Yeah.
given the best player to potentially ever touch a football, just weapons at everywhere he looks. And last year, their worst thing was receiver. Like they couldn't really have any consistency. And now you're giving Mahomes two like of the best like burners, two like deep threats. Like Chiefs are gonna be on top for a while. And I mean I like Mahomes, so I don't mind it, but the rest of the AFC is kind of gonna suck for you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just injecting that speed into that offense is key. And then you got Kelsey too, not necessarily like a speed guy, but he can kind of play like the middle of the field and run those little short underneath routes to pick up little gains. And then you got your corners on both sides that got like sub 4.3 speed guys. I mean, tough day for opposing cornerbacks.
Like I think this is the best for Kelsey. Like defenses are gonna have to be so scared of Hollywood Brown and Worthy beat them over the top that Kelsey and Rashee Rice are just gonna get to work the middle of the field. And I mean, hopefully Rashee Rice is back on the field sometime this year. Don't really know what's going on with his situation, but also like it opens up the run game. Like I just think this is just a great pick for the Chiefs and great. I don't know why the Bills let him move up. Kind of. Anyways, but great pick for the Chiefs.
Is what it is there. Yeah. Cowboys 29 offensive tackle Tyler Guyton. They needed O-line help. He was I think that's good value to get him at 29. Good pick in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Needed, lost Tyron Smith. Your O-line's kind of been getting depleted over these last few years, but Cowboys have a lot of needs. Like they've had a pretty poverty offseason. Lost Pollard, lost a few guys on the defensive end, but I mean, apparently Jerry Jones says they're going all in. So see what they'll do today. But they kind of got to protect Dak, and I don't really know who's going to be the running back, but got to have a good offensive line, to have a run game. So I think it was just kind of a position of need for the Cowboys.
Yeah. And then Ravens at pick 30, take cornerback Nate Wiggins. Yeah, he was my third highest corner. I think that's good value on that one too. Corner is a position they could use, so another good pick there. Agree?
I mean, personally, I probably had Wiggins as my fifth corner. I think, two guys that are still on the board who I'll talk a little more when we get to my Panthers, but I mean, I rate him highly. I thought he would have been way gone before this pick, to be honest. But I think Ravens, needed a corner. Humphrey's pretty injury prone, so I think it was a good fit for the Ravens and good value pick for them as well.
Yeah. This was another pick that kind of caught me a little off guard. 49ers at 31 took wide receiver Ricky Pearsall. He was a guy I kind of had my eye on as a potential second round receiver because I have a feeling the Steelers were going to take one. I thought, yeah, Ricky Pearsall could be a good second round receiver, but the 49ers take him at the end of round 1, a little bit higher than I was expecting, but we'll see how that goes. I mean, Deebo Samuel faces injury concerns. Brandon Ayuk has the pending trade requests. So I think a wide receiver is definitely a decent pick. Could have looked O-line here, definitely. Yeah. Could have looked cornerback, but they ended up with going wide receiver. What do you think?
I mean, well, our Niners buddy who I was watching the draft was not happy with this pick at all. Kind of was losing it for a second there, but I thought they should have went O-line or corner, kind of like you said. But I mean, potentially is the writing on the wall now for Ayuk or Deebo. Like I kind of heard that maybe Deebo could be in the mix for some trade talks, and you kind of because they already paid Deebo, so maybe get rid of Deebo, give Ayuk the money. Now you kind of got your two-man receiver game again, but not the pick I wouldn't have gone. But I mean, a lot of people, there's some people who are high on this guy, like route running wise, and kind of just like third down ability and can make some tough catches. So. I mean, it's never a bad thing to take a skill position guy. So, I mean, not who I would have went with, but I'm not going to say it's the worst pick of the first round for me.
Yeah. And then closing out the first round, your Carolina Panthers moved into the first round, made a deal with Buffalo, gave up 32 and 200, got back 33 and 141. And Wait, hold on. No, sorry. They acquired pick 32 and 200, gave away 33 and 141, and
Yeah.
draft wide receiver Xavier Legette. I have a feeling you got some thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, we were watching the draft, so I was getting ready to flip it over to the Lakers game, but all of a sudden I see trade alert. Panthers move up to get into the first round, move up one pick with the Bills. At the time, I was very disappointed because I was praying that Kool-Aid McKinstry or Cooper DeJean made it because we need another corner to pair J.C. Horn with. So I was like, come on, praying, and then I hear Xavier Legette. I'm like, put my hat over my eyes, just pretty disappointed. But then I kind of went and watched. Steve Smith did a breakdown of him, and I watched his highlights. He can fly. Like I was not really familiar with him. I knew they were kind of calling him like a DK Metcalf, but last year we drafted the quote unquote DK Metcalf and Mingo, and it didn't really work out. But I mean, I actually saw that he set the fastest running time in college football, even over Xavier Worthy, like in game last year. And he's a big body receiver. He can make contested catches. So, I mean, I thought he might have been there. I kind of wanted to go corner at 33 and then receiver at 38. But, I mean, I came around the pick. I like the pick for the Panthers because, our offseason goal was we got to figure out if Bryce Young's our guy, and we got to give him every chance to succeed this year. So we patched up the O-line, got him Deontay Johnson. Now we're giving him another weapon. So, I mean, I like it, but hopefully one of these corners make it to 38. I'm going to be watching closely today, praying for it, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's too likely, to be honest, that Kool-Aid or DeJean make it to 38, to be honest.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, those are definitely both first round players in my opinion. So if I was you, I'd be hoping for one of them too. We'll see if they fall. I think we could see some trades. I think there's some teams that'll be looking at some guys. Another guy that like Donnie Mitchell, I think is a first round guy. He's honestly my wide receiver 5. So I'd be looking to trade in. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I was kind of either hoping for Kool-Aid DeJean or Adonai Mitchell. That's what I would have been fine with. Legette was my second receiver left on the board after Mitchell, but I think the Bills are probably gonna take Adonai Mitchell. I mean, they lost Stephon Diggs, and they're getting good back. Like I thought he would have been gone like kind of mid-20s, to be honest. Like a lot of people were pretty high on him, but I don't know. Well, just still a lot of big names for the second round, which is
like even Johnny Newton too, the D tackle from Illinois.
Yeah.
He had some high projections. So yeah, I could see some moves happening here. Bills on the clock with first. I think they'll probably take a wide receiver, and then after that, we'll see how that goes. You kind of mentioned your thoughts on what the Panthers want to do. I guess I may as well add in what I hope for the Steelers here. Hopefully, I talk this into existence. But I mean, if we could somehow get AD Mitchell, I'd be hyped. I'd be shocked if he doesn't go to the Bills. But I know we either got to go wide receiver or center. I think if we could get Jackson Powers Johnson or Zach Frazier, I think that would be great. Or if we can snipe a good wide receiver in the second round. There's still lots of receivers. I mean, honestly, maybe even a third round receiver, we could still get a stud. So hopefully it works out. Draft's coming here in a couple hours, so we'll see how the second and third rounds pan out. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to this video and like, and we'll see you soon.